Welcome to Aiken Business Matters. I am real happy today to have our guest, Krista Mole Matthews, with us. She is the owner of DayBreak Adult Care Services, and Linda Hart Lucas, who is the Community Relations Director for DayBreak. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, and you are right downtown on 1028 Hain Avenue, which is a very prominent place in Aiken, so people should know exactly where you're located.
Yep, it's great to be downtown.
Well, we're glad that you're here, and you've made a big difference in Aiken with what you do. Tell our viewers just a little bit about you personally, Krista, if you will. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Barnwell. I grew up there. My dad owns the local funeral home down there. And I came to Aiken, I'm not going to say when, but many years ago to USC Aiken and met my husband there, graduated, and have never left.
Wow,
so,
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Linda?
love it.
I'm long-term Aiken. My dad came with DuPont back in, we were one of the early starters. I think we started in 51, we came in 51.
Right.
Been here, educated here, USCA at first, transferred to the Medical College of Georgia, and except for a little 5-year stint where my husband and I moved to Houston for 5 years, been here ever since.
Right, and you're just so people kind of get a connection. A lot of folks were our age were educated by your mother.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Lila
Absolutely.
Ruth Hart. She was for many years out at Millbrook Elementary School, and your dad trained a whole lot of Marines through Parris Island down there, where he was the top sergeant in Parris Island for a number of years.
Head drill sergeant.
Yes.
Wow. That equated fine until I became a teenager, and he used to headbutt my dates. So after that, he had quite the reputation.
And even though you didn't grow up in Aiken, I think so many people have family and go back and forth to Barnwell, so I know that they know your family very well. I certainly did.
Yes.
And you are married to
Chad Matthews.
Chad Matthews, who is his family has been around Aiken for a number of years.
Yes, they are widespread. I cannot go anywhere and do anything bad without a spy from the family being around. No,
So
teasing.
both of y'all have deep roots in the city of Aiken,
Yes,
and
we do.
that speaks volumes for why you are so passionate about some of the things that you do. Now, Krista, give us a little bit of your professional background.
I have a master's degree in speech pathology, and I practiced for many years as a speech therapist before opening DayBreak. I worked in various aspects of the field: home health, the hospital setting, the schools, and then I had a private practice for several years before we opened DayBreak. So I gained a lot of experience in working with families and helping solve problems, and going into homes and various types of situations and figuring that out. That's really helped transfer to DayBreak and in-home care, believe it or not. So, yeah.
And Linda, how about you?
Well, I guess my education goes back to, I'll just start with the Medical College of Georgia. I'm a registered radiologic technologist. I have about 7 certifications that go on and on, but just ridiculous in the past. And then after that, it was in the medical profession 25 years, transferred out to the Savannah River site for about 18 years. And when I left that, I said I didn't want to go home, so I decided I'd keep working and found this profession and have loved it ever since.
You know, one thing that really does transcend anything else in the field that you're in is you really have to have a passion and a compassion for people.
You do indeed.
And how did that come about with you, Krista?
Well, as I mentioned, I grew up in Barnwell with my dad owning a funeral home, and I don't think there's a profession that requires more compassion than that. So I grew up with that as a model, particularly being in a small town where you know a lot of the people that you're dealing with. But and my mother's an educator, so as a speech therapist, I was able to just really help people, and that's always kind of given me my warm and fuzzy or my fix, and certainly being able to help people in their golden years as well, and work with some of the families that we do is just so rewarding. You know, it's a privilege to be able to do that, and I think we both take a lot of joy every day out of being able to just simply help somebody.
Yeah. You're both really involved in so many different areas of the community too. You give back a lot. I know, Linda, you serve on a committee for the city. What is that?
I am the current chair for the senior commission that the Aiken City Council has put out there. And we work with Aiken PRT, our sponsors, but we go out and meet on a regular basis, and we try to offer up suggestions to the council that the seniors might need here in town, in the city.
Yeah, and Chris, I know that you've served on over the years a number of different committees and boards in town. Yes. And in fact, you and I served jointly on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors for 3 or 4 years anyway.
Yes.
So, both of you are really models of giving back to the community and not just taking, as some businesses. But how in the world did you ever determine that you wanted to open up your own business?
I don't know, John. It was no. Well, my husband, Chad, owns his own business with a partner. And as I mentioned before I opened DayBreak, I had gone out on my own and opened a speech therapy business. So we have a level of comfort with risk. And we both just really find it interesting and exciting to be able to create something, especially jobs in your community, especially such a special community as we have. And our model from the start has been to set up both a small business, but also to extend the fibers of that business into the community as much as we can. And it's worked, and it's such a give and take relationship. I mean, our business has grown and developed into what it is, which is a little different than some of our counterparts because of the ties in the community and the tremendous support that you get from other businesses and people in Aiken.
Right. So it's not just a business for you.
No, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Well, the nature of this business in itself is definitely not just, you can't just leave it at the door.
Well, you had just a little extra twinkle in your eye when you were talking about creating jobs and opportunities for other people too. That's a special, unique gift that not everybody has, nor does everybody think about when they're creating a business. They're doing it for many different reasons. I know you're a for-profit business. I'm not disputing that, and certainly you've done well with that. But creating opportunities for other people to work with you and train them and get them into, what kind of people do you hire?
We've got a tremendous staff of caregivers and nurses. We really look for people that have some type of certification, a certified nursing assistant, or are experienced as caregivers. 5 years or so of experience is what we really like to find. And it sounds cliche and it's not easy to find, but with the nature of what we do, it is really, really important for them to just have a heart for people too. Because you come in contact with all different types of families and situations and circumstances. So you've got to have a level of compassion and care. It's not just a job, so that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. Now, Linda, tell us a little bit about what you do as a community relations director for DayBreak.
I guess my primary position would be going out and when we start with new clients that come and call us for services, explaining our services. I go out and meet with them one-on-one, go into the home, and I do it kind of threefold. I walk in and want to meet the person, let them meet me so we can all work together to develop a care plan that we go forward from there. And then we become care partners with them because we want to help them. We also go into the home and I do a free home safety assessment. A lot of seniors have been in their home a lot of times and they're ignoring things around their house that would cause injury to them, like rugs that they could trip on or needing handrails. One of the primary ones I see a lot of times is poor lighting. Just simple things like that, little ideas that I help them go forth. Even if we don't, they don't choose us as a service, I'm giving them those little hints.
You mind can I ask you a little question
Sure,
here?
go.
I was in, where is it? Home Depot, Lowe's, one of the stores, and I noticed that there was a little thing in there about door handles. Is it there are certain kind of door handles that are better than other kinds?
Absolutely. With seniors, and I am included because I have arthritis in my hands, and that is levers. You want lever door handles.
Okay.
And much easier, so they don't have to turn them all the way around. And it's they're easier to snap closed and things like that. So that's a change that could be made if they needed to, or we could offer up they might need to.
There's just coincidentally, I saw something on television last night where people will wear these life support alerts that they have around it. Is that an important thing to have?
We suggest that.
Yes.
Do you really?
We always suggest that.
Are there different levels that you can get of that?
Absolutely, and they're amazing. The technology has increased so much. They have them now. It's called an impact fall, and if they hit hard enough to make an injury, it automatically calls an ambulance.
Wow.
Without even having to push the button. So the technology, it syncs to your body movement. So it.
I remember several years ago talking to a friend of mine who did not live in the same city with their parents, and I think their father had passed away. The mother was still living, but in good health. She had fallen in the tub, something like that, and she was there for like 4 or 5 hours before anybody found her. And she was not able to get moved. She had broken her hip or something like that.
Absolutely.
And so how do you prevent things like that from happening, Linda? Because I know you said that you go in there and you give an assessment of the home.
Yes, absolutely. Go through the bathrooms and check on rails and things like that. But the amazing thing about that is that's what usually brings us into the homes, is an event of some form or the other. They've taken a fall, they've had an accident, they have a medical condition. We primarily go in there with seniors all the time with dehydration, where they're not drinking enough water and things like that. And a simple fall, they could just fall right on their little table next to them. So when we do these evaluations, we check on the corners around there where they're sitting. A major one that I do is a lot of people fall going to the bathroom. So we do. We tell them the family members even to lie down in their bed at night. Close your eyes, cover your eyes for about 3 minutes, open your eyes, and see if there's enough lighting to make it to the bathroom safely.
Really? So night lights are a good thing.
Oh, they're a wonderful thing. Yeah.
At any
people
age.
don't like them, but you can also get tap-on lamps.
Buying 2 this afternoon.
There you go. Safely.
Tap-on lamps.
Yes.
The clap.
The clap-on, but you can touch-on lamps.
Oh, wow.
It's just a plug-in system that you buy and put with your lamp. So
such a like you said, technology has really brought safety into the forefront for people.
Yes.
And
so if I'm doing if I have an elderly parent and I want to make sure that they're okay, is that something that you could do? Go in and give an assessment of things that they could do in their home, or do you have to have an event for something like that?
Oh, no.
No. We're all about prevention, certainly. So that's part of what we do on the forefront, before we come in. Yes, and there's no charge for that, and we're happy to do it whether they're our client or not.
Right. I was just thinking that, there's so many times that, and the comment that you made, Linda, that the reason you get in people's homes is because of an event. I'm kind of one of these people, I like to be prepared ahead of time for things. So, I guess it's never too early to contact you to find out, to help. If I have an elderly parent and I want to make sure that things are okay, to have you come in, do an assessment, something like that, and then I've already got somebody. I mean, do you keep those records so that if I have an event that comes up or something, are they the declining health and they just start needing different kinds of help? Maybe it's just a little bit of help, but what kind of services do you offer for that, Krista?
For people that just need a little bit of help?
Yeah.
We offer anywhere from 3 hours a day, up to live-in services if someone needed us 24 hours a day. But we do have clients that call that just need some small things done for them, such as running errands or helping them with a little housekeeping, meal preparation, taking them to the beauty shop, taking them to church, doctor's appointments, those type of things. And so we can easily set that up and schedule it as needed. We have people that use us once a week. We have people that use us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, whatever. We're very flexible and able to set it up according to what their specific needs are.
So there's really not a need that somebody has that you couldn't fulfill?
As long as it's non-medical.
Right.
So, yes.
Thank you for pointing
We
that
are,
out.
we pride ourselves on being flexible, because it's a dynamic process anyway, we have a lot of people that are post-surgery that, may need us 24/7 when they're coming home from rehab, but as they gain strength and progress, they're able to kind of back off and eventually tell us, hey, we don't need you anymore.
Well, you just answered my next question.
Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. I do know folks that that they and you don't have to be elderly, but you can come. You can be out of the hospital. Say a single person. Maybe a widow or widower. They have some type of surgery and they come home and they're just not able to do all the things for themselves immediately until they get their strength back.
Right.
So, age doesn't really play into the services that you have.
No, we're adult. We are adult care.
Right.
But primarily our clients tend to be seniors. So, but yes, we can help with any adult needs.
But the demographics of Aiken are huge. We have a huge amount of seniors in Aiken,
Right.
and it tells you right off the bat. And when you're talking about the one family member, that seems to be quite prevalent with the widows and widowers or one-person families, and we help with that a lot.
Right. What wanted to circle back on one thing that I think we could leave people with so far as thinking about the safety in a house. Are there any kind of pamphlets or anything like that can people can just make a self-evaluation of the houses of their parents to see that there are
checklists kind
absolutely.
Of a thing. We offer that up.
Do you? Well, that's great. I know I do see you out at a lot of different events in the community when the health expos and things like that. Have you got anything planned for the future and anytime soon that you're going to be out and about doing things like that?
We have, right now, we usually start in the fall, about August, and then from there until almost December.
So it's not that far off, really. No. Time flies.
Once or twice a month, something like that, we go into senior expos and enjoy meeting the public and telling them what we do.
So that's a great time for people just to be looking out for things like that so that they can go out and meet you personally and ask. And you're able to ask questions. If I'm sitting at home and I have a question, can I pick up the phone and call DayBreak and say, I have a question, can somebody help me?
Absolutely, anytime. We actually have 24-hour service.
Wow. So if you're just not sure, then people could say, do I need help? I'm not sure what to do. You can give them directions and things like that.
Absolutely.
Good. There's a magazine that comes out in the Aiken Standard fairly often. I guess it's once a month. It's called Mature Times. And the older I get, the more often I find myself reading it. But I do notice that I see both of you ladies in there all the time writing different articles and things like that. Tell me about that a little bit, if you would, Krista.
We actually became involved with the Mature Times when we first opened, and have been in there, I think, monthly ever since.
Absolutely.
For the past 6 years. So we try to include information that is going to be helpful for people with things like safety issues or
a lot of Alzheimer's and dementia information.
Information about that, other subject matter, senior subject matter type things, but also we've done some human interest type articles at times too. So we've tried to keep it fresh and interesting, but pretty much all things senior. So that it's helpful.
Yeah, other than the normal things that you think about when people when the aging process starts, Alzheimer's is really something that everybody is familiar with now. years past people weren't that familiar with. For some reason, it just wasn't as well thought about. Is it because doctors are doing a better job of diagnosing it now than they did in the past? Or is it just something that, are there more cases of it now than there used to be?
I think it seems to be more prevalent just because the dynamics of the general population being older. But I do believe that physicians are saying Alzheimer's the disease can only be diagnosed through postmortem. So doctors were a little hesitant in saying that. But dementia, the overall umbrella of dementia, is what we're hearing the doctors say right off the bat, and then they can go into more. The technology has brought up the testing more stronger that they can diagnose us and say that we're pretty sure this is what this condition is.
Yeah. Can I put y'all on the spot?
Sure,
Ask
sure.
a question. Okay. Say I'm noticed my father and he's not taking his medicine like he's supposed to. How can I tell whether he's just forgetful or whether he's starting to develop dementia? And how can I make sure that he takes his medicine correctly?
Well, there's no snap answer to that. You know, but that is, there's some forgetfulness. What is the medicine for, this and the other? But it also goes along that usually far more correlation of other things he's forgetting if it's dementia. You know, we all forget our car keys. All forget our car keys. But if we don't remember what car key that particular key goes to, or getting in the car and not finding home, or getting lost, it's a compendium of different kind of symptoms that put it all together that come up with the diagnosis.
Is it hard to for you when you're doing, say you have a new client? Let me just ask this. It's probably an easier way to answer this, and probably a lot more informational to our listeners and viewers. Say I pick up the phone and I call and I say, probably you would be the one I'd talk to, wouldn't it? If
Yes.
I called you'd come out, and what do you do when you come visit? I'm at my father's house and he's there, and I know I need some help. I just don't know what I need. Tell me, walk us through a little bit of how a valuation visit would go.
I'm going to, knowing that it's going to be your father, I'm going to try to communicate with him first when I first come in the door, because he is the actual client that we're going to see. And see if I kind of ask him, why am I here? John told me to come, but why am I here? You know, and kind of glean a little information from him as to what brings me into the home. And he's going to say, well, John thinks and I've lost my mind, and that's why you're here. Well, I've all lost my mind a long time ago, sir, so let's talk about it. So just get into a little conversation where I'm making him a friend of mine so that he can understand that I'm not here selling Avon products. You know? So I want to go forth and just find out some information, what all his needs are. What does he do during the day? And then I'm going to find out from you, what are your concerns really that brought me in the door? Is he really not forgetting those medicines? What's his weight? That belt has 2 more holes in there. He's lost some weight. Yeah. Little things that I'm going to notice about him. Look at his overall picture. Look at it, the way he's looking. He's kept as close as he should be. You know, most men trim up and everything else. Well, maybe he hadn't been to the barber. I've noticed that he's lost weight. Well, maybe he's not dressed. Looks like he's got a dirty shirt on or something like that. There's a lot of little tiny tricks that you can look for that say that he needs just a little bit of care. And that's where we come in with DayBreak, because we can come in and say, we can give you just that little layer of support. Make sure you're up in the morning, you've gotten your bath safely, help. If you come in, we need help, we'll help you with that. Gotten dressed appropriately for the weather, get the meds taken, remind them to take those medications, tell them that half the time you have to tell them what the medicines are for, and make sure they've eaten a good meal, clean up a little bit, get the bed made, scoot on out, and they've got their day started.
Wow. A lot to evaluate.
A lot to do.
So basically, you go into a house and you start putting a puzzle together.
Yes,
you pick this piece and this piece.
Who needs what and in what time frame?
Right.
And that's the beauty of our service, is that you tell us when to come.
Right.
You know.
So you're almost like an investigative reporter. You're going in and you're asking a lot of questions.
Absolutely.
And filling in the blanks, and by developing that rapport with the patient or with the customer, then you're able to put this piece together, so when you two ladies finish with your evaluation, you kind of look at it and say, I have a pretty good picture of what's going on here. You see the things.
Absolutely.
And so many times, I guess it's probably very eye-opening to the member that has brought you into the picture.
Absolutely.
You've either validated it or you give them some good news or some bad news.
Yeah, sometimes it's a lot of times it's a surprise to them. They may not see what I'm seeing, this, that, and the other, because they see it all the time, or might be overlooking some small thing.
But you give them a good objective evaluation of what's going on, and I think that's so important because, you know, it's an old saying, but it's very true. Sometimes you just cannot see the forest for the trees, and when you're right in the middle of the forest, you've got so many things going on, and people really want to do the right thing, and they want to have the right kind of help for their relatives or for the folks that they have responsibility for. It takes a special person to be able to do this, and you know, Krista, you made a comment that when Linda was talking about some of the things that you evaluate, made me think about this. Your job's 24/7. I mean, you guys are on call 24/7.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Well, we care for people 24/7.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, Linda gave some examples and I did, but those are small cases. We also, you know, live in with people that may not have family in town, or they may have people here, but they may be at the end of life and they need complete hands-on care, you know, around the clock. So we've got to be able to be available to help support our staff and those families.
So we specialize in long hours, though,
Yeah.
which is good for us.
You know, one thing too, you mentioned early on about your passion for the people that you work with, and you know, it's so important for people that are living alone or in the latter stages of life. They don't get a lot of outside contact, so that personal contact that you give them, you know, just sitting there talking to them, listening to them, has to be an important part of the whole process.
Absolutely.
Companionship is
Companionship.
definitely a necessity.
Socialization.
Yeah.
We get to take them to church.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that was what
Yeah.
really what made me think about
No,
it,
absolutely.
and getting the
They
hair
can't
done
get
for the
out.
ladies.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that. They will, but I know that's an important part of things.
Sure.
Just making them feel important and just have the best interest of your clients in place.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about one thing I know is kind of near and dear to both of your parts, and it's talking about the folks that you take care of, but there's a lot of responsibility that goes to the caregivers too, and there's, you know, you fill the gaps and help with the caregivers. So you've created a whole different process for them, and you call it the Caregivers Outreach and Training Center, and that's located right across the street on Linden, 151 Linden Street here in Aiken.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about how that all came about and what that's all about?
We are very excited about it. We saw a need for several things through our experiences with our staff and our families. First of all, there's several components to it. We have a tremendous staff of caregivers of all different skill levels and experiences, young, mature, and typically our families get attached to them especially when you find a really good fit. So somebody may start out with a caregiver that they just need, as we talked about, to take them to the beauty shop or you know, fix meals or that kind of thing. But as that client, you know, their situation progresses and they need more hands-on care, you know, that caregiver may not have that skill level to continue with them. So what we did is we've set up a actual hands-on training center. We have a hospital bed, we have a whole bathroom set up, a Hoyer lift, wheelchairs, all the things that our staff may come in contact with in different home environments, so that we're able to train them on how to use those if they haven't done that in a while, or if they would like to learn how to do it so that they can progress with their clients. And just you know, to give them a level of confidence in what they're doing, because as some of our more hands-on serious clients require, you know, things like transferring from a wheelchair to a bed, or
That's
using,
a tough thing to do.
Yes, or using a Hoyer lift. And at that point, you're not only protecting the client, but you also need to protect your caregiver, and their body mechanics have to be right. And you know, we need to watch out for their health as well, make sure they're doing things the right way. So that's been a really a great aspect of it. Twice a month we have trainings that they can sign up for. It's all kinds of things like bathing and dressing, transferring, Alzheimer's and dementia care, caregiver burnout, hand washing. We're getting ready to start etiquette and nutrition, just all kinds of things that will help them grow professionally in their jobs. The second component I'm going to let Linda talk about is that we actually are able to open it up to our clients in the community. You want to speak to that?
I think that one of the most wonderful, I call it one of Krista's brainstorms that she came out about, was realizing that in our community, not everyone can afford us all the time, around the clock. So what she wanted to do was to put it out to the community. So if we're in there and they can afford us an 8-hour day, then the rest of that 24 hours they have to care for their family member. And there are things like learning to put a draw sheet under them when they're in a hospital bed, learning to transfer them correctly and safely, using transfer boards and things like that. They wouldn't have any idea how to. So we're going to open up and start little classes at a time to the public completely, and train them in our building the same way that we're training our ladies, our caregivers, or retraining our caregivers as we do most of the time. And right now we started with Alzheimer's and dementia for our first 3 classes that we're starting. And along with that, we have a support group while we're over there that meets in our conference room, and it's for Lewy body dementia, which is a different, rare form of dementia that is that we have support group for now.
I know that I was very fortunate. I had an opportunity to tour the facility with the mayor and some of our other community leaders and members of the business community. And I was very impressed with what I saw.
Well, thank
and
you.
Got scared to death. I walked in one room, you had a dummy sitting there.
That's
I thought,
Susie.
Susie. And I actually thought for a second, the lighting it was in the evening, and
Yeah.
the lighting was such that come from one area to another. I thought there was actually somebody in there
we
that
take her for
Yeah,
granted.
she'll scare you.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
I'll just say that it's very realistic
That's
looking.
right,
Susie is very
right.
realistic and training.
One of our case manager nurses does CPR training over there for our
Yes.
girls also. So that's a wonderful tool that all of our girls need. So, and everyone in the city needs, actually.
Well, you know, just circling right around to what you were talking about the innovation and the technology, that's certainly a very innovative way to provide yet another service to our community, and you're to be commended not only for your inventiveness and your thoughtfulness in doing that, but it's just a wonderful thing for people to know that you're only a phone call away, and that you don't have to be alone when you're dealing with family issues, crises, whether it's just a temporary situation that you're having to go through, or whether it's a very long-term process that you're having to go through. But knowing that people are there that are passionate about what they're doing, but that they also have a personal touch that they can add to it to make it, because you're not only ministering to the needs of the clients, but also to their family as well.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't go without being noticed. And we wanted to thank you again for what you brought to the community.
Thank you.
Not only for what you are as a business in our community, but to adding to the jobs in our community, but also adding to the care that you're able to provide to our very valued citizens who have done so much for this community, and as they go into the later stages of life, or even younger when they have needs, that you're there to help, and
Yes.
that's a great thing.
Thank
and I
you.
want to thank you both again, not only for what you do, but for coming on and joining and sharing a little bit about what DayBreak is all about, and the new venture that you have, the training facility that you put together. So thank you ladies both very much for taking time out of your day to spend a little bit of time with us and our community.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, John.